Guys ready? Nko, I am here. Blessed to be here. Remember, Into Bantaba Network every Sunday. Are you guys ready for us? I have a special guest. Yes, very special. So bring it on. I know somebody is hungry, looking at me like, come on, wake up, wake up. We are up, we are up, we are ready, we are fired up. I am fired up, fired up, fired up. Nko, bring it on. Al-nana, al-nana, al-nana. I definitely miss y'all. Give me a shout out. Let me know you are in. Yes. Let me know you are in. You are in Binto Bantaba community. Welcome home. I am blessed to be here again. I am so blessed to wake up today. As usual, I do not take nothing for granted. My big old smile. Yes, I have a special guest. The right man for the job. Yes, our right lecturer is in the building. Did you bring your books? Bring your books. Do not use computers. You will make a mistake like I did. You won't be able to turn it on. Bring it. Bring your notepads. Yes, thank you. Are we clear to go? Can you hear me? I am ready. I'm fired up. I'm fired up. I'm fired up. Oh boy. I am so happy. Mfamata Allah. Alama ale nali jo. Alama na sunkar siala. Alama man satellite am fan na judumendingolla. Napanye. Amimbi jamambuide. So alkana worry be. Ndemo batan de la fonte. But I have a special lecturer for us. We have our brother, a lawyer, Melville Robinson Roberts. He's in the building. He is ready for us. He is ready to teach us. Yes, this place is what? We talk about real issues. No insult, respect. That's our motto. Yes. So our brother is in the building. He is a lawyer. Did y'all know that? Right man for the job. Yes. I am fired up. Yes. Jaju the brother is in the building. I'm not kidding. He is here. I am not kidding. He is in the building. Live in. Y'all bring it on. I'm not going to waste any time because I know most of y'all are already like one eye open. Open it all, okay? All right, Jaliwa, thank y'all. Thank y'all. I have a brother here. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all, Fofana. We are up. All right. Mr. Roberts is in the building. Come on. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me change this real quick. Mr. Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Roberts, you are welcome to Binto Bantaba Network.
Thank you so much.
We call ourselves the grassroots. When I tell you we like the education, we lack the knowledge. I mean, seriously lack the knowledge, especially me. Everybody watching here, they are qualified than I do. So that's why we bring you here today. We are honored to have you, and you are welcome. This platform here is for educational purpose, our real issues on the ground in the Gambia and diaspora. Gambians and the people that loves the Gambia, they want to understand the Gambia. Our leadership, our politics, our sectors. So today you are from where? Justice? No. You are Minister of Foreign Affairs. So you are not Justice.
No, I'm not Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I say you are from Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you are the Deputy Permanent Secretary. So we have the right man for the job. and your education is more focused on international law, foreign policy law, and etc. But I will not introduce you. I would like you to introduce yourself first. Let me talk to the community. If you are new here, please, this place is respect. Please like our page, follow it. If you are on YouTube, I give a shout out to you. Give us subscribe to us. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Roberts, you are welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
The ground is yours. The floor is yours. We would like to know who Mr. Roberts is.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on your program. I'm glad. And when you contacted me, I was a bit, okay, like I said to you, I was a bit nervous. I was like, okay, but I'm glad to be here. I've interacted with you a few weeks now, and it's been amazing. Of course, I'm Melville. I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm Melville Robertson Roberts. Like you rightly said, I'm a lawyer. And I've got expert knowledge apart from my legal field in international law, foreign policy, and diplomacy. I also have a master's in international trade and investment law.
Okay.
And I'm currently working on a PhD in international law, but a concentration in weapons law and the law of armed conflict. I also have quite a lot of professional training with regards to diplomacy and foreign policy. I've also got some form of formal training on weapons law and the legal review of weapons. So basically, I love everything to do with the law, especially the international aspect of the law, but more so concentrating on foreign policy and diplomacy. So yeah, that's just me, just an ordinary guy, little fish in the pond.
That's why I'm telling Binto Bantaba community that we are lucky to have you today, because you are the right man for the job. So you are welcome. I cannot even clap enough. First of all, since you learn a lot about foreign policy, we want you to make us understand the Gambia European Union cooperation. That's what we want you to explain to us so we can have a brief understanding about it.
Okay. Now, you see, to understand, okay, I don't want this to be a lecture. I keep saying that, and I just want it to be like a conversation. But before you go into the agreement proper, I think people need to understand the historical context of that cooperation. Now, the European Union is one of the largest donor partners of the government of the Gambia. 55 million euros have been actually pumped into the Gambia's economy by the EU. Now, we have a history, as in we have a past where diplomatic relations between the Gambia and the EU was not that good, I should say. It was a bit shaky. So what we had was a wave going up and down between the Gambia and the EU, and this is based on various factors. Now, like I said, people tend to think that a foreign policy is something that you write down on paper and say, the Gambia's foreign policy is da 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 da. Yes, that is good. That is good. So you have a lot of countries that have some sort of understanding. Basically, what it is, I will call it an ideology. And this ideology shifts, it changes from time to time, depending on the government of the day and the government in power. But what really accounts for your foreign policy is your day-to-day interactions with other states and with other international organizations. So this actually depicts your foreign policy stance. So you don't really need to to have something in writing for people to understand what sort of a foreign policy America has. So, for example, if you look at the United States vis-a-vis human rights issues, you look at Canada vis-a-vis human rights issues, you don't have to tell me what is the foreign policy. You don't have to go look somewhere for a written document that states the foreign policy of Canada, because you can tell by their actions, by their pronouncements, by their conduct, that this is where they stand when it comes to their foreign policy with respect to international human rights law and international obligations of states. Now, we all know that in 2015, it was such a rocky part with former President Jammeh and the EU that at that given a 72 hours notice to actually leave the country. So really in diplomatic world, in diplomatic parlance, you can tell that that's where relationship with another state or vis-a-vis with another entity, another organization has gone to its lowest. So to a point that, they did not, the government of the Gambia at the time did not see fit, you understand, any reason for having such an ambassador taking such policy decisions with respect to the relationship of Gambia and the EU. And all of this boiled down, really, basically, you can streamline it to two basic points. The first one being the country's position with regards to the whole gay issue, lesbian. And then the second one, obviously, was with respect to the issue of illegal migration and the position of the then head of state in not wanting to accept deportees. But the irony of it all was that even though the Gambia was making these pronouncements and taking these positions, EU at the time remained the largest donor partner of the Gambia. So really, basically, this is the trajectory. It's the historical path that you have to look at the EU-Gambia Cooperation Agreement. So in 2016, when former President Jammeh left the Gambia, the EU saw a brilliant opportunity to cement and build what ordinarily was a broken down relationship between the Gambia and the EU. And that is what brought about the EU Cooperation Agreement. Now, this cooperation agreement is called the EU-TUF. Really, is something that is not only limited to Gambia. It is a policy. It is a framework that the EU has that actually regulates their relationship with other African states. But at the time, because of the policy stance and the relationship with the government of the Gambia, this agreement couldn't have actually taken the form that the EU side wished and wanted for. Now, we all know and accept that former President Jammeh's government was seen as a dictatorship in the outside world, especially within Western context.
Yes.
Now, when President Jammeh left and we had President Adama Barrow come to power, the EU saw a brilliant opportunity, because now we are looking at saying we were celebrating a democratic dispensation. We're saying that and celebrating that we were done with autocratic rule and dictatorship. So they saw a brilliant avenue to come and negotiate. And so the basis of that cooperation, the basis of that agreement was solidly built on a democratic state that has respect for the rule of law, respect to its international obligations, and of course, part of it would obviously and ordinarily be accepting your nationals when they have exhausted all local remedies abroad. And of course, you had the very subtle idea of respecting fundamental human rights, inclusive of gay rights and lesbian rights. So this is the basis of the cooperation agreement.
Okay. Is that to our advantage as Gambians?
It's what to our advantage as Gambia? I want to get it specific.
This policy, the whatever they see now, since the dictatorship is gone, does these policies or this agreement they try to put together, not just for Gambia, but with other countries, are we having, is it beneficial to us? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I try to lay the foundation. The EU has pumped almost 55 million euros into President Barrow's government, into the Gambia, should I say? Let me forget about saying, going into President Barrow, but the Gambia. And they have so many projects, that they're working on. So you can't, when you talk about, if you want to look at it objectively and try to put it at par with anything, I wouldn't say it's disadvantage. It's any disadvantage to us. It really boils down, like I said, it boils down, you see, most of these agreements, corporations that states sign, it really boils down into the value of the society. And this takes into different account, cultural value, societal norms, what really the government of the day stands for. So yes, absolutely. I believe that this is a cooperation agreement that is absolutely beneficial. What would the state of Gambia have been without all these monies that have been pumped into our economy? So yes, and again, if you look at the transition process, the greatest and largest donor development partner and the largest entity that's contributing towards the realization of that transition, whatever it amount to at the time, was the EU. So yes, I think it is absolutely beneficial. But like in all agreements, especially in diplomacy, it's give and take. So the EU is looking for something, you are looking for something. So really, you get to a point whereby you actually have to weigh the advantages vis-a-vis the disadvantages. Are you looking for the greater good of a particular set of people, or you're looking for the greater good of your entire populace? So it comes down to really issues of value and issues of appreciation of what it is that you want from that agreement. And that's why, regardless of any agreement that is signed, and when it comes to diplomacy, there's always an ongoing negotiation. You negotiate until the very last day. There's no straight answer in diplomacy. It's a constant battle of negotiation between states and between entities or organizations.
When you started, you said the human rights, which involves gay rights and lesbians' rights. And Gambians freaked out. We did freaked out when it's their right too. When the EU ambassador saw up on the TV, ITV, and explained to the Gambians that gay and lesbians are also Gambians. They have the right to be in the country, and they have the right for them to be who they are. And Gambians, they were not satisfied. They were not happy with that. So do you think the EU could have or will punish us for something like that if it's part of the agreement?
Okay, that's a very tricky question, and it's a very sensitive question, but I'm going to try to answer it as best as possible. And this is really, my answers are my opinion. They don't reflect the opinion of the government of the Gambia, of the state of Gambia. This is just my opinion and my analysis of it all. Now, like I said to you, in states are just like human beings. States are just like human beings. When you go to make any agreement or enter into any negotiation, you're looking at reflecting what is ordinarily your interest. When states communicate and deal together, they are all looking at what really suits them and what is their interest. Now, what is their interest really can be further broken down to what really is their values. What is their value system? What is their cultural norms and what is acceptable in their society based on their value system? Now, the EU is not looking at gay rights. The EU is looking at fundamental human rights. Now, before you descend the ladder, to come and start getting to the different facets of human rights, they are saying ordinarily the common denominator is for you to accept and respect fundamental human rights. Fundamental human rights cuts across religious, social, ethnic, whatever you call it, economic, whatever class, it cuts across it, full stop. This is what has been acceptable, has been accepted according to international law. This is what has been accepted by most states, according and domesticated into their laws for the fundamental respect of human rights. Now, when you go further, and this is the argument that the EU side or Western countries would always make. Now, when you go further, you have a common base to accept and respect the rights of every Gambian. Now, then you descend to the second layer, and that is the Gambian choosing to be gay, choosing to be whatever it is. Now, according to international norms and according to international law, this has been acceptable practice that it is part of their fundamental human rights. But, and this is where my opinion comes in, and it doesn't reflect what the position of the law is. It doesn't reflect what the position of my state, my government, the Gambia is. Now, respecting fundamental human rights is recognized, but forcing another state to respect what another state considers as fundamental human rights is not provided for by law, because what states accept, what states decide on, just like democracy, just like monarchy, is based on what their value system is, and it is based on their cultural and historical context. The cultural and historical context of the Gambia does not allow for the recognition of gay rights. What it means, though, is not saying that because you are gay, your fundamental human rights would be suppressed. What it basically means is I will respect your fundamental human rights, but when it comes to the practice of what you do, I as an entity, I as a state, I can choose not to give it prominence.
Okay.
So nobody in Gambia, I don't believe, if I was a head of state in Gambia, I do not believe that I would slaughter anyone, nor will I take anyone to jail, nor will I kill anyone for deciding to practice a particular thing. As long as it does not affect the rights of another person. Because remember, where your right stops, that's where the right of another person starts. Therefore, I believe that the government of the Gambia should be decisive enough, and I believe every proper and decent and sober government should be decisive enough in when negotiating to, of course, accept whatever is the substantive element of the negotiation, the basis of the agreement. But when it comes to your value system, when it comes to your cultural appreciation of things, I think it should be prominent. And I think no state has the right to force any country whatsoever to give recognition or to promote what is against their value and their cultural system. That is
thank you. That's what I want us to understand about that. Thank you. We appreciate that. Now we want to take you down to the main issue right here as on our flyer. We want to talk about deportation. Deportation been on ever since migrations ever happened. And migration, as long as human beings are concerned, we migrate. So, but first of all, before we get to any level right now, we want you to give us a brief run through of different types of asylums Gambians file.
Okay. Now, we have to understand the first thing is I don't think I have a definition of what asylum Gambians file.
Okay.
What I will try to do is to tell you my understanding of what asylum is based on international law and basically the regime of asylum and how it came about and the law and everything like that. What Gambians file with respect to asylum would have to fall under the accepted legal categories of what an asylum filing system permits. Now, you have what we call territorial asylum, you have what we call extraterritorial asylum, and then you have what we call neutral asylum. Of course, territorial asylum is like, it as the name suggests, is that you're already in the territory of the states that you're claiming asylum. Extraterritorial will basically boil down to you asking for asylum. You are probably in a safe country, or you're probably in a third country, but you're seeking asylum somewhere else. And then you have what you call neutral asylum. Now, the thing is, when you apply for asylum, you are asking for protection. You are asking for international protection. And basically what it means, if you look at it in correspondence with the state law of extradition, what asylum basically means substantively is that you're seeking international protection from another state, something that will prohibit you from being extradited for whatever reason to that state. Okay. Now, when you apply for asylum, it falls into different categories. So you can apply for asylum seeking a refugee status. Now, when you apply for asylum seeking refugee status, the law says that you have to fulfill the ingredients and requirements of a refugee. So if I apply for asylum today on the basis of wanting protection, in humanitarian protection of any sort, I have to fulfill the ingredients that really establishes a prima facie case that yes, I need protection. And this could be religious persecution, political persecution, or whatever it is that you fear, just genuine fear of your life in your country of origin or your country of domicile, you're ordinarily resident in. So basically, that's just what an asylum means. It just means you're basically saying that you cannot be in your home country because you fear for your life. Now when you go further, you have different types of regime of asylum. So when you apply, you have what you call forced asylum migrants, or forced migrant asylum asylee. Now what happens is, like in a situation of war, let's say Libya, these people don't leave because they want to leave. They don't go and seek asylum because they've decided that, good afternoon, today I'm going to England, or I'm going to America, or I'm going to another country to seek asylum. No, the realities and circumstances of the situation of the ground force them to flee. So when these realities happen, they're forced to flee, they seek asylum. It is usually easier. It is usually easier to demonstrate and to show cause for a genuine and positive asylum process. So the catch is, and this is where it becomes very dicey, because during the 22 years of Jammeh, a particular agenda was propagated to a point that when Gambians seek asylum, it is already a standard understanding that they were coming from a dictatorship and autocratic state. So it was usually taken as, for granted that most of them are genuinely in fear of whatever it is. Remember, we've never been in a civil war situation. Yeah. But there's always been that presence of fear. Now, how one establishes fear when they have embarked on an asylum process is different from person to person and day to day and circumstances to circumstances.
Yeah. So some of them, they've been denied of asylum. Just like you explained, they have different categories how they file their asylum. So we cannot definitely see or know what they completely filed and they were rejected for. So we have this claim that
but you
it's
also,
not.
Just let me just make this point. Remember, when people seek asylum, there is a regime that regulates this. In some countries, they have actually, vested this particular asylum process to UNHCR, which is the United Nations body responsible for refugees and stuff. In order to, so they have a very strict, for example, in the EU, they already have a strict asylum regime that they are bound to follow. So you have to establish that really you need or you are seeking international protection. So it's not just like an ad hoc thing of refusal, because no, it has a lot of tier, it has a lot of appeal processes. So even whereas you appear before you refuse asylum, you have a right to appeal. You have a right to go before an immigration judge or whatever it is, depending on the law of that particular country. So it's not that easy where it's like an ad hoc thing and people just look at your face and refuse you. No, international law says every person that seeks asylum, you must, as a matter of fact, look into the issues and circumstances of that application.
Okay. So I will take you to this route too. Gambians in Italy, Germany, and other countries, just under the EU, they don't have a Gambian citizen representing them at the embassy. What do you think is wrong with that?
My honest opinion is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There is no country that has representation in every single country on earth, especially a struggling economy like the Gambia, a very small country like the Gambia. You cannot, I think it is not fair on the state of Gambia for people to expect that there would be representation or a consulate or an embassy in every single country where Gambians deem or feel that they are present in or they want to be in. That's not how it works. Now, okay. a lot of consideration is put into where a country would establish a consulate or establish a mission. This would be determined by your relationship with that particular country. It would be determined by how many Gambians you have in that country. It would be determined by how many registered legal Gambians you have. Because remember, all of these things, you make decisions on statistics, on facts. So it is not just because you have so many people. I see in some instances where people are saying, oh, but we need to have representation here. We need to have representation there. But these people are not even documented in those countries. So you cannot even tell who is a Gambian. You don't have the statistics. You don't have the figures. And some of them, they don't do this not because they don't want to be associated or be identified as Gambians, but because of the whole regime of deportation and illegal migrants and the difficulties they face. Some of them are genuinely scared to associate or let people know what nationality they are. So really, it does not have, there's no, and this is my opinion, I don't believe there's a must or there's a reason where just because a person or an entity or a group of persons feel that there should be representation in a particular state, it should be so. That's not how diplomacy works. You know, there are a lot of factors that you would have to take in place for you to establish a mission. However, what I do know is that the way the consulates and missions are patterned or organized, they do it in such a way that in every geographical region, there is like a point of contact where you can establish, like you can seek consular services from, basically. But
it's not just about visa or filing asylum. It's the communication. Sometimes the brothers are in trouble, or the brothers and sisters are in trouble. They have been jailed, some hospitalized, some even, sorry to say, they die. So these embassies should be there for us. If a Gambian could, if you are there, I think they will be more comfortable to come out and say, hey, our brother is down there, let's go talk to him. So, but they are so, they have the fear not to even come out at all, because instead of you being there for us at the embassy, Mr. So-so American is sitting there at the embassy. So they have that complete fear. You would have, we think that you would have advised them a better way to go than that other national.
I think again, and I like to put things in context.
Okay.
There's a path. There's a historical trajectory that we have traveled on. So there was a time when the relationship between the embassies, especially like you mentioned now in America, where you are, with the Gambians were not very, very cordial. And we know for different political reasons and different political ideologies. So remember, 22 years is not just 5 years, it's not a year. So you have a mindset that has been built. It is now the responsibility of the government of the day to build that trust with its citizens wherever they are, so that they would understand and know that in trouble, when you're in trouble, when you're in difficulty, the first port of call should be your mission or your embassy.
Yeah.
So it is a matter of awareness, really, reaching out, sensitizing, and letting people know and understand that your mission abroad is not your enemy. The mission abroad is not there to do things to you that would be to your disadvantage. We all know that the remittances from the diaspora is accounted for about 21% of our GDP.
Right.
So this is a very significant chunk. It's a very significant number. Any serious government cannot relegate this. It is something that every serious government should identify. It's something that every serious government should embrace. There has to be a cordial relationship. There has to be a link between Gambians abroad and the state of Gambia. They have to have that confidence in their government, have that confidence in their mission. And that is the only way they can serve the purpose for which they are there for. Because remember, the missions abroad are not only there to serve the interests of the state of Gambia diplomatically, but it is there to safeguard the interests of Gambians in that particular region.
But countries like Germany, Italy, we know that most of our guys, they went through the back way and they are there. Countries like Italy, Germany, at least, that's my opinion, but people are listening to, at least there should be Gambian citizen in those two embassies because we have the population there. Either they are hiding or they are out. That's my take on it.
I agree absolutely. If I have my way, and like I said, I speak for myself, I'm not speaking on behalf of government of the Gambia. They have a different ideology, and whatever that is, it will be something that, it boils down to their foreign policy and diplomacy policy that they have. Right. But yes, I think the way you see the trajectory, the trend that we now have, really you could tell that absolutely there is a need for some sort of representation in those countries that you mentioned, Germany, Italy. I mean, I think if I had my way, I would have closed some embassies in some countries that I feel that the Gambia is not benefiting anything from. They're just pumping money to pay staff, to keep up, operational costs, and are really not benefiting anything. So I would have streamlined some of those embassies and then push for the government to have representation in these countries. But like I said, it is not within my purview to decide. But yes, I agree that with the trend that we have now and the statistics that we have, I think over 30,000 illegal migrants now in Germany. And I don't know what is the statistics for the actually legal migrants. I think it's a significant chunk. It's a significant number. And I think it is something that the government has to look into and look into fast, because they definitely need that. And I think it would help when Gambians see that, they're closer to their state by way of the mission that is present with that.
So in fact, what is the responsibility of Foreign Affairs Ministry on Gambians abroad?
The responsibility of Foreign Affairs Ministry for Gambians abroad is not different. It's no different from any responsibility of any country towards its nationals abroad. is the same thing. What would be different? What would differ is affordability, things of practical nature, constraints because of the size and economy of the country. But when it comes to, you see, when it comes to consular affairs, it is regulated. We have a framework for it. The Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Protocols of Practice is there. Diplomatic regulations is there, and it governs the relationships between states. It tells you what really is your consular responsibility towards your citizens. So it is no different. Every country, every state on earth has a responsibility under national and international law towards its citizens. And it is no different from what America is offering Americans in Gambia, from what Gambia should offer Gambians in America. It is the same thing cutting across board.
Mr.
So
Roberts,
basically, yes, ma'am.
Gambian embassies, I'm telling you, if you need something from those guys, they're watching. I know the government is watching. I know you're speaking on your own, but I just have to bring you down, drag you all the way up. I mean, American and Gambian embassies in other countries, when you need something, I mean, a mere passport is the most difficult thing you can even look for. All other things are really difficult. You cannot call anybody and get in touch with them. You email them, no response. Gambian embassies in the diaspora is in need improvement. So I don't know, as you are working with them, but today we want you to talk to us, even though that message is your personal message. But tell us, if you have to contribute to that office again, what would you change after this conversation?
Now, I know what I'm about to say is not really what you would expect, but okay. My view and opinion of things are very broad-based. I look at things from, in a broader perspective. I try not to constrict my thoughts to certain issues. I look at the broader aspect of it. Now, whatever I have described is something that I know absolutely is happening, because I also have family, I also have friends, I have people who have tried to reach out for some sort of consular service and have gone through the same roadblocks or bottlenecks that you're mentioning. But this is the distinction. My take on that is that it should not be streamlined to foreign ministry. The entire government machinery needs an attitudinal change. They need to understand and have a different output to work ethics, basically. So what the struggles you have in America is not different from the struggle the average Gambians would have to get a passport in Gambia. The struggles you meet in America would not be different, far-fetched, from what struggles a Gambian would have to get a birth certificate. So basically, if you have the government of the Gambia, has provided services. So you can tell that on the part of the government, there's the willingness to provide. There's the willingness to provide. It is ever present, and that is why you have the mission abroad, and that is why they have held themselves up to extend those services. Now, it boils down to the everyday staff. It boils down to the everyday individual in those embassies to empathize with their fellow Gambians. You don't have to have somebody hovering the head of any Gambian official in any mission for a person who's looking for a passport. It should come naturally. It should come naturally. That is why you are posted to that particular mission. That is your job. It has to be done regardless of the personality of the individual. As long as a person has identified that they're Gambians, the services must be extended to them. But again, it is a matter of attitude. It is our output to work. It is our understanding of what our responsibilities are. So it's a failure on the part of these individuals. It is a failure on the part of the civil service, and by extension, it is a failure on the part of the government for not having a proper regulatory framework that would ensure that every single Gambian, no matter their designation, no matter where they are from, if they step foot in any embassy, they should be sorted out. They should be dealt with in an expedited and timely manner.
Thank you. Thank you. We do. We really need change on those embassies. The employees, they do not respond to young Gambians. A Gambian could die.
And I think we have a foreign minister now that listens. We have a foreign minister that listens. So I think also there's a responsibility on the part of these Gambians who are actually trying to get these services and they're not getting them, to make complaints to the parent ministry, to the foreign ministry, so that the foreign ministry is aware. And I'm sure if it does, they will take it on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So we're gonna go to
so it's basically a matter.
It's really saddening now.
It's sad, yes. And I understand. But again, like I said, it's just who we are as a people. Because if you have square pegs in round holes, that is what would happen. If you have people who are being posted abroad, not because of their capabilities, not because of their potentials, but they're posted abroad because of on political party lines, on affiliation, family affiliation, friendship. This is what you would have. So the entire structure, for me, my belief, the entire civil service structure has to be sanitized.
Completely.
And people have to their job description has to commensurate with their ability to deliver and their potentials and what they have and what they can offer.
The time they use to delayance is just too much. Delayance, they delay everything.
It cuts across, and I don't think this is a foreign ministry issue. I think it cuts across board, from foreign affairs to agriculture to health. Every single sector you have to have, and this is why I believe that it is not only a system change. It is not only a system change that we need. We need an attitudinal change, because the system cannot change. It is the attitude that changes the system. Who makes the system? It is us. How do we make that system? It is our attitude. It's our day-to-day interaction. It is what we do from day to day. Our value system. That is the system that we have.
That's the system. It's just so... Okay, so now I'm going to take you back to deportation. The conditions of... what are the conditions of deportation? And does the government have a legal power to stop deportation, to stop it?
How can a government, first and foremost, we need to understand that a government cannot. Okay. Now, let us look into deportation. Substantively.
Yes.
Substantively, deportation is regulated by a domestic legal framework. I repeat. Deportation is regulated by a domestic legal framework. But the completion of the act of deportation to a state of perfection has international ramifications, because it is not only governed by the laws of that state, it is also governed by the law of the state where the deportation would actually end and perfect its cause to amount to what is known as deportation. Now, when that happens, it cuts across the local order, the national state regulatory framework or laws. When that happens, it cuts across that and it gets an international dimension. Because you are now transacting with another state. So yes, the Gambia government has its laws, its policy with respect to deportation. But the moment that deportation starts and has to be perfected in Senegal, you are now taking into consideration the laws and regulations of Senegal. So it's got an international dimension. So it's a local or domestic regulatory framework for the act of deportation, but to perfect that deportation, it cuts across board. That's what we first have to establish. Now, can a state refuse deportation? obviously a state can do a lot of things, including refusal of deportation. But the point is not what the state can do. It is what the state can do right and what the state can do legally. So, for example, a president of a particular state can travel to another country and he can be assassinated. They can do that. Is it right? Is it legal under international law for them to do that? It is the same regime. So deportation, yes, you can refuse. Yeah, Jammeh refused to have people deported. He refused to have his nationals deported. And he did that because he could. But the question is, was he right in doing so? Was it legal in doing so? Remember, every particular state, just like you're saying, you see, there's a corresponding responsibility. Just as we are saying that every particular Gambian, regardless of where they are, the government of the Gambia or the state of Gambia owes them a responsibility, has a responsibility towards its citizens. So a moment ago, we just looked at the consular aspect of it. We're saying that the government has a responsibility towards its citizens when it comes to consular matters. Binto, right there, corresponding on the other hand, is that the Gambia government has a responsibility to accept its citizens. One cannot go without the other. Just the same argument that you are making that the government must be responsible towards its citizens, it is the same responsibility that the Gambia has to accept its citizens. Now, you go to the second point. How does deportation happen? How does it happen?
Yes.
Now, these countries have laws. They have local laws, domestic laws. And there has been an ideology, there has been a sort of belief system in the Gambia that it is an inherent right for a person to be present illegally in somebody else's country and you should not be removed. How they say it in all of Fanlenko Were? Is it that? Fanlenko Were?
Yeah, Fanlenko Were, yeah.
You go to a particular country illegally. You have exhausted all legal avenues and remedies for you to stay in that country legally. Sister Binto, if they now remove you from your country, what is the issue? So that is looking at deportation substantively.
Right.
For me, I believe that if an individual has exhausted all local remedies, all domestic remedies that can accord them a legal stay in a country that they find themselves in, the right, legal, decent, and appropriate thing to do is to go back to your country and try again.
Okay.
So that is my belief. But when we get into the substantive part of deportations, you'll hear my other side, which would be my analysis on the issue.
Right. Somebody said here, he said, I'm going to bring this one up. I don't want us to miss this one. He said, Gambian embassy in UK is full of Nigerians. Even their call center answered by Nigerians. Very sad. So if we financially cannot afford to put Gambians out there.
Do I have a right to respond to that question?
Go ahead.
I don't usually speak for the government of the Gambia, and I make this very clear. When I speak in any issues with regards to Gambian politics, I speak on my behalf and from my own understanding. Right. But this time I'm going to chip in. I'm going to speak, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. I'm going to speak for government of the Gambia. I think that is false. That is false. That is false. That's absolutely false.
It's not true.
That is absolutely false. As I speak to you today, I don't know of a single Nigerian staff in the UK High Commission. And people that know me know that I won't mince my words. I won't lie for a government. There's absolutely not a single Nigerian in that mission. So that is false. That is not true.
Wonderful, because these are the things that hearsay, and we're here to clarify that that's true. Thank you.
That is not true.
Thank you. I didn't want us to miss that one.
I didn't want to miss that.
Let me talk to Binto Bantaba community. I am so blessed you guys are back. Mwah. I have to kiss you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. We have a special guest. I am telling you, it's Melvin Robertson Robert. He's the one speaking with us. We are serious about international policy, deportation, and so on. If you come in late, please, when you continue with us, come back later and click start because you missed a lot. So please, Binto Bantaba community here, share this information. YouTube, please subscribe, share with friends too. Mr. Roberts.
Yeah.
Mr. Robert, I have a big question. 2017, the coalition government, did they sign any, when I mean any deportation agreement from 2017? Because we the Gambians are saying, we said Interior Minister, Foreign Minister, Honorable Dabo and Honorable Maifati signed something. 2021, we said the Foreign Minister Tangara and our vice chair signed something. Did you know anything that this coalition government have signed in terms of deportation?
Very interesting question, because I have silently and quietly watched for it's been a long time now. I think it's been about since 2017. So about 4 years now. It's been bandied around that lawyer Hussein Dabo and co and all that signed the deportation agreement. I can tell you absolutely with accurate precision and confidence that there has been no time whatsoever, wheresoever, that any official of the Gambia, be it within the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, has signed any agreement, squarely a deportation agreement of Gambians. That has never happened. And the reason why, knowing how Gambians operate, that for 4 years, nobody, not one single individual can produce a single document, a single text that would showcase and demonstrate that such a deportation agreement was signed, is because it does not exist. Now, the cooperation agreement or the agreement with Switzerland, yes, that happened, I think, this year or a year ago. I was already in England. I don't have insider knowledge to that. I have knowledge, public knowledge, as to the agreement that I saw online. And I will give my comment when you come to that on that particular agreement. Now, I will tell you what happened and what people think, or why people feel that a deportation agreement was signed. And again, this is where, for me, and I've always said in every platform that I've been, that the government has to have an active communication strategy between itself and its citizens. Because if you allow misconceptions and mistruths to fly, eventually, if you repeat a lie consistently and constantly for far too long, it will be accepted as the truth. But I can tell you, and I will not lie to you, that there has not been a single deportation agreement that was signed by the government of the Gambia with any state on planet Earth. Okay. Now, I'll tell you what happened. The Gambia government signed a greater cooperation agreement with the EU, on acceptable procedures of returns known as the Good Practice Accord. And this agreement was signed or reached together with the EU in May of 2018.
Okay.
What this document does, or what this document seeks to do, is to have a regulatory framework whereby it will prevent the ad hoc deportations that were happening. One flight coming today with 20, tomorrow with 30, not consulting the government, putting people on board a flight and just sending them. They have nothing to their names. Some of them have not been identified as Gambians. Some of them are Senegalese. You would only tell and know when they're in Gambia. So there was a lot of disjointed procedures that were taking place with respect to the returns of migrants who have exhausted their all domestic remedies in those countries to stay there legally.
Okay.
Now, what the government did, what the EU did, the EU took advantage of the fact that there was a regime change in the Gambia, a regime that is preaching the ideals of democracy, a regime that is preaching the respect for the rule of law, a regime that is preaching that it would honor its international obligations and it will take responsibility for its citizens. The EU decided at that point that there was an avenue, there was a platform for negotiation, and that the two sides should meet and have an agreement on how these returns would be done. But remember, the government of the Gambia does not have a say on the domestic laws and policies of another state. That is why they are a sovereign state. But what this document seeks to do was to come into an agreement with both sides so that both sides at all times will be aware of what is happening, will know who is coming, what is their designation, how long have they been in this country, have they exhausted all legal avenues, all remedies to stay in that country, things like that. This was what the Good Practice Accord did. And because you have the Good Practice Accord, there was now a legal framework to enable deportations to commence, which has been halted by the previous government. So automatically, people now think, and some people that wanted to use it as a political score started propagating the falsehood that a deportation agreement was signed. There was no deportation agreement signed, and I can tell you absolutely that I was part of the negotiation of the Good Practice Accord.
Oh, okay.
In fact, and I'm sure a lot of people are watching this. Officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are watching this. My former permanent secretary in Joguba, I'm sure, will get to this. And I can tell you, in that meeting, in those negotiations, I raised the issue because the amount of individuals that the EU wanted to deport at the time, I raised the issue, in fact, to the admiration at that time of my then peers. And I said to them that because in the EU, in this Good Practice document, they wanted to determine how many deportees would be sent at a particular time. And I got up and I raised the issue that the EU has no right, no legal right to determine our receiving capacity as a state. And that can only be determined by the government of the Gambia. And in that meeting, I raised the issue that we are not unwilling to accept our nationals. What we are saying is we are not adequately ready to accept our nationals based on the conditions of based on the political security conditions at the time. And eventually there was a lot of back and forth, and this was agreed and put into the text of the Good Friday Agreement that there would be no more than 50 deportees at any given time. I single-handedly negotiated for that text to be there in that agreement.
Oh, okay, okay. So if a country could not identify nationals for a particular country, should that country that they thought, for example, let's use Gambia again. Gambians are in Italy, but Italians cannot identify them that they are Gambians. Should they ask the Gambia government to send agents to identify them? Is that part of foreign policy?
No. What happened? What happened was, you see, for me, like I said, I think it boils down to communication. But this is not my responsibility. But if I had any say in government, the good practice document should have been made public, because it's no secret. Because if you go on the EU website, you would see the mention of the good practice document. Probably even if the government for one reason or another does not want to show everything, all the provisions of the agreement, but I think they should have sensitized the public. Now, as part of the good practice document, there are issues that was raised with regards to identification.
Okay. And
what we said at the time whilst negotiating was that any Gambian, you cannot just issue a Gambian document to a national that you have not. It has not been determined by officials of the Gambia that they're Gambians.
Yes.
And that is how the identification bit came about.
Right.
So what ordinarily happens is, and this is where people fail to understand, Binto. Let me give you a scenario. Remember, some of these individuals are people who have already exhausted legal remedies. But don't forget, and I think people don't look at it this way, because when you are applying for asylum, remember you already said what country you came from. When you're applying for asylum, you already gave them a name, hoping that if your asylum application is successful, there has to be something there. When you're going through the asylum process, remember you have demonstrated, you have to show cause why you have genuine fear, why you need protection, or why you want a refugee status to be accorded to you. So sometimes it is ironical that when they have exhausted all remedies and get to that final part, then they suddenly don't want to be associated as Gambians. You see how tricky it is.
That means that the government don't have to be involved anymore. The country that they filed that they exhausted all these legal proceedings, they should be taking care of them. We are lay people, so layman like me can say that's a sellout.
Yeah, so that's what I agree with you. But again, remember when we started. We gave a picture. So you might call it a sellout, and you have a right to say so. But again, I think the issue of migration, it has to be looked at holistically. Okay. Now, what I am against, and what some officials of the government were against, is, for example, people who have lived in those countries, have established themselves, have kids, have family. You just don't jump and separate them from their families and send them home.
Right.
But again, what is also the truth that it's an uncomfortable truth that we don't talk about most of the time, is that some of these people, that are being deported, have really got into the system the wrong way. Either they have exhausted all local remedies, or they have been engaged in some sort of criminal activity that put them in light of the system. So really, I think we have a responsibility as a government. And that is why I think the government should have a policy, okay? And that policy would look into the issues that you're raising now. It would look at other factors. It would consider whether it is advantageous for the government of the Gambia to refuse 50 individuals at the expense of 2 million people. It is not easy. It is hard. And that's why I think that
we're coming to that.
That's why I think the issues.
We come into that. We are coming. I mean, look, I will just say 2021, whatever government win this coming election, transparency is very important. Transparency is very important. But sending agents to Germany, to other places, to say, well, Binto right there is a Gambian. For me, I will be the first person they will catch. As soon as they step down the aeroplane, I will be number one because I love to, you know, I'm Gambian, a typical woman. So, but sending that don't sound good. They need to leave their countries to figure out what they need to do.
Binto,
that's a layman.
Binto, we have, you see, and this is why I say in Gambia, it is not easy. It is not easy because, you see, people don't want to be told the truth. Okay. And I'm sorry, I think that is wrong. I think as a society, we need to be honest in our discourse.
Okay.
I mean, our discourse can't be emotional. Our discourse can come from a perspective of gain and privilege.
No, Mr. Robert, are you saying they should send the agents there?
No, I'm not saying. What I am saying is, it is the responsibility. You see, it goes hand in hand. For example, if you have an agreement that says that I'm going to give you $50 million to build your infrastructure, to help in your health sector, that Binto would benefit every single Gambian. And you agree that you will cooperate in the instances where your nationals, Binto, have exhausted all legal avenues to be in that country. I mean, it is the hard fact, Binto. It is emotional because it is a very sensitive issue. But are you saying the government should relegate on its responsibility because of a few individuals? Is that what we are saying? Is that what our value system is as a society? When we try to look, for example, when people compare things, you look at what is obtained in America, you look at the system, you look at what is done, but you know what? Sometimes there are things that are not favorable. It's a give and take situation. So it's a matter of policy. We can decide to give them their 50 million, let the entire Gambia suffer, and we leave our 50,000 people or 30,000 people to be there and quiet. But we cannot have it all. We cannot have our cake and then we want to eat the cake. We cannot negotiate in such a way that the negotiation process doesn't make sense. It is difficult. It is hard. Nobody wants to say this truth, but that is the honest truth. No one should be deported just because of the sake of deportation. There are laws that regulate deportation. But my sister, if you have gone to somebody's country illegally, you have exhausted all single legal remedy to stay in that country. It is not by force. The government of the Gambia has no right to say it is by force. For that purpose, that is why you have said that you are a democratic dispensation. These are the responsibilities that come with democracy. These are some of the fruits, the hard fruits, the bitter pill that you have to swallow with democracy.
No, Mr. Roberts, I'm still a bit lost in this conversation. I'm a bit lost. Are you saying, I'm not saying that the government should not accept them back. I'm not saying that. But sending agents to say, well, Mr. Robert right there, that one is from Serekunda, you know, Gambia, pick him up. No.
You see, Binto, you have to understand the rationale for that. In fact, it was the decision of the government of the Gambia to protect its citizens. That was why we insisted at the time that before any Gambian is sent, an identification parade must take place. Okay. So because if you look at it that way, if you understand it that way, what happened was the process was slowed down. Okay. And we also agreed that if you want to do the identification, the financial responsibility has to be borne by the country that wants us to conduct the investigation. So what we were basically saying is, don't put our nationals on the plane and send them to Gambia. Those that you cannot identify, leave them. Allow us to identify them.
Oh.
So people have to look at things differently. You see, when you don't understand and you don't understand the root cause of things, it is very easy to propagate a different narration. And this is why I have always said it is the responsibility of government to communicate and sensitize its populace. Because if you don't talk to them, if you don't explain to them, they wouldn't understand. Binto, if it were not for some of the identification process, some of these people would have already been in Gambia. The reason why they're still there is because they have not been identified properly as Gambians by officials of the Gambia.
Okay. Okay, thank you. This deportation thing is, but we are glad to have you. So we will move forward.
Again, I think it all boils down to negotiation. Like I said, just because there's a good practice document does not mean that there is no room for negotiation. The issue of deportation, migrants, the back way are ongoing issues that every single country on planet Earth is struggling to grapple with. And therefore, there's always room for negotiation. Okay. But the room for negotiation, we have to understand, has to be premised on what is right, what is legal, and what is for the average benefit of every Gambian, and not a few set of individuals.
Okay, I heard this typical story. I'm not sure. I will just bring it. We typical Gambians. Somebody might make it up, or it might be true that a young man in Germany, I'm not quite sure if it's Germany, but it's been a while, said that the officials of that particular country where he was contacted his school, and a teacher went to immigration and provided a passport and sent to those officials in I think it's Germany, so that he will get deported. Do you think a Gambian, we are typical, do you think that kind of story will really sink in?
I don't get into the story bit, because to be honest, I don't know, and I don't like to say things I don't know or have subject knowledge or factual knowledge about. That would just be a case-to-case basis, and I really don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't want to comment on something I don't know.
Okay, well, I don't think that might be true either. So I brought it up because Gambians are watching. If anybody is on a mission to provide a passport, and you are not the right person to look for a passport for an individual, you are not the power of attorney, do not do it. That's why I came up with the story.
I think that is even illegal, because for you to obtain a passport for somebody, you must have some sort of power of attorney or be the parent or guardian of the person to do that. So that process in itself is illegal. So nobody has the right to go and obtain a passport for you without your express authority and consent.
Thank you. That's why I came up with that such story. Okay, so we have seen few countries, which is Gambia is included. They've been threatened they've been threatened by the EU to sanction them if they do not accept their deportees. Gambia is included, Senegal, Somalia, Guinea-Bissau, and other countries. So this deportation, this sanction, if they say sanction, they haven't implemented yet. But in case this sanction, what does this sanction mean? Does this mean it's limited to Gambian officials or the entire country?
I have not seen the document, but usually it is limited. I have not seen the document, so I really don't have expert subject knowledge on that one. But I usually, as what's obtained in other countries, it is usually the officials of that country, because the responsibility, the decisive responsibility on decisions of such nature is squarely left within their purview. So it is usually the officials of the country and not the citizens of that country. You cannot punish people for something they don't have any control or right over.
Okay. So when they say visa sanction, does this sanction mean it will not, it's not only visa, something else will be included, or just only visa?
Well, it would depend. It would be dependent on the sanction regime that is being implemented at the time. But if you're saying they're restricting it to visa sanction, for example, if you look at the issue with Donald Trump and the ICC officials, it started with a visa sanction, then it went to freezing of their assets in the state. So it is always determined by the sanctioning state, really. So you wouldn't know. Usually what they do is they do these things as a means of actually twisting your arm. So they do it little by little by little, and to the part that it really, really hurts. So it wouldn't be surprising where it moves from visa sanctions to stop a halt in aid, in grants, and things like that.
Okay, so that's what
it is very unlikely. It is very unlikely and very uncommon for the visa sanctions to extend to the citizens of that state, because then you would be punishing individuals for something that they have absolutely no control over.
Okay, so our question, this is where our question on the flyer comes in. We want to hear your opinion. Should Gambia government accept their deportees or accept the sanction by the EU?
Wow, I see you're trying to get me into trouble today, because one,
we want to hear that from you. Should the government accept deportees or the sanction?
You see, there's no straight answer. There's no straightforward answer to that. And I think from the onset of the conversation, we have established one thing, and that is decisions of such nature are dependent on a series of factors.
Okay.
Okay? And these factors can only be looked at holistically by the state. And really, I, as an individual, it's difficult for me to say, oh, yes, accept sanctions, or no, don't accept sanctions. Because it is not only accepting the sanctions, like I said, it's got other ramifications. It's got other disadvantages that would not be limited to that sanctioning of, in this instance, restrictions of visas, but it can go to a point where it would be a complete cut in aid that would be of great benefit to people who are not traveling. So is it right that because somebody has traveled and gone and does not want to be deported back, that my struggling grandmother in the village should not have access to some sort of health machine that would have saved her life? You see, it's very, very sensitive. And that is why I feel that the government has a responsibility to sensitize its citizens. You see, what we have in the Gambia is a very, very peculiar situation. You see, most of the youth bracket, most of the youth most of the individuals in the youth bracket age were born during the time of Yahya Jammeh, that 22-year period. Most of them who are now youths and young adults were either kids or young kids or babies at that time. Those that were not born within this period were very young kids that grew into adulthood during the 22-year period. And what has happened is that there has been a systemic understanding and acceptance that deportations are frowned upon, and people have a right to go to these countries, be it illegally or legally, or whatever way, even taking boats and canoes and crossing the Mediterranean. And they would not be deported back because of a particular policy that the government of the day at the time had. So what has happened now this present government is faced with something that has become part of the system. It has become part of the awareness, the psychic and understanding of the average young mind that we have a right to go and nobody has the right to send us back, because this is the system that they're used to. Now, this is where the disadvantage comes in. When everybody was fighting and claiming that Jammeh was a dictator, people were not considering the fruits that comes with dictatorship. When everybody was fighting a particular system, people were not looking at the advantage and the leverages that you have in propagating that a particular system was autocratic. So when you fight for a democratic dispensation, the democratic dispensation that we now have comes with responsibility. You cannot possibly have a democratic dispensation, but you still want to enjoy the fruits that come with an autocratic state. And that is where we are as a people. That is where we are as a nation. We want to enjoy all the benefits of Jammeh. We want to enjoy everything that comes with Jammeh's rule. But we don't want to now take responsibility for having a democratic dispensation that should have full respect for the rule of law, full respect for its international obligations, and full respect towards its responsibility towards its own citizens. So the conversation must be centered to a point whereby people will begin to understand that going into somebody's country illegally is not an inherent right. Going into somebody's house and you're not welcome, it's not by force. We have to understand this. And that is why we are faced with this situation. And now we have a transition government. We have a government that is struggling financially. We have a government that is struggling economically. And then you have the burden of migration on this fragile government. But then you want the government of the day to accept autocratic decisions, to refuse your nationals from coming, just like Jammeh did, and you labeled him a dictator. You want Adama Barrow to refuse, but yet still you want to propagate a message of democracy, respect for rule of law, and good governance. It's ironical. It's oxymoronical, because you cannot get the two at par together. And this is where we are as a nation. And I think it is the responsibility of the government of the Gambia to communicate to average Gambian to understand this. The conversation has to be changed. People have to understand their responsibility. People have to understand what comes with democratic dispensation. It comes with responsibility. The whole notion, the whole ideology, the whole concept of democracy is built on an enlightened and informative society and populace. So that is where I think we have a problem.
You're right. That's what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm sorry, guys. Yes, democracy comes with responsibility. Democracy comes. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me move on. The integration package. Can you give us a little explanation about it?
You see, the reintegration.
Oh, the reintegration package.
I'm sorry. All the reception, and reintegration package for migrants. Again, these are all the things that the government was able to negotiate under a regime. And the good practice document also seeks to protect the migrants or the returning migrants. So this package was offered, it was offered by the EU. Now, the problem I had with the reintegration package at the time was that it was only, what's the right word to use? It could only be assessed. It could only be accessed by voluntary, like people who have agreed to voluntary returns.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, people from Libya that had gone through the back way and things were now difficult. They have gone through so much perilous journeys and experiences, and have agreed that they want to come. And these returns were facilitated by the International Organization for Migration, IOM. Yes. When they come into the country, they are received, and they have some sort of reception packages for them. They were hosted. Those that have families were allowed, if they want to go to their families. So they were offered things. They were offered money, like little pocket money on arrival. They were offered psychosocial support, and they were offered this reintegration package. But this reintegration package was specifically meant for these designated type of migrants that were returning. Now, what was happening is people who are deported from America, people who are deported from other parts of the world were not part of this structure. So these individuals couldn't just walk into the IOM and say that I was deported yesterday, I want to access the reintegration package.
Because they were forced to go?
Because they were forced to go.
Oh, okay.
So this is what, but again, these are things that should and must be communicated to the average Gambian. Oh. These are things that should be communicated to people in the diaspora. Oh. What is happening now, to be honest, I don't have subject knowledge. Whether it has changed, I don't know. But for example, you had the YEP program under the EU fund. Yes. And this program was really some sort of entrepreneurship grants that were given to Gambians. But you have to have some minimum level of qualification. So again, it disqualified a certain set of people. It disqualified the Momodu Balde that live in Pirang that has never sat in a school. So for me, the reintegration package had to be structured in such a way that it should not only be accessible to voluntary returns, but also to forced returnees or people who are deported, if at all they want to access those funds.
Oh, now we're okay. If you are forced to go home, listen now. If you volunteer to go home, you will benefit from it. If you do not, you are forced to go home, you will not benefit from that. So that's a good clarification.
Yeah, so that is how the reintegration package was done. As of today that I speak to you, whether it has been modified, it has been changed, I don't know. Because in fact, I had some sort of issues with that regime, because I had raised this, because incidentally, I was the official that was representing the foreign ministry at the IOM, at the technical committee stage with regards to the whole reintegration package.
The reintegration.
And what I had thought at the time was that the government of the Gambia has to create avenues for young people whereby they don't have to go through these perilous journeys, and they can attract these incentives or grants without having to go anywhere. Because if you have very, very, very productive and attractive reintegration package, to my understanding, what you're basically saying is you cannot access this package, Melville, you as a Gambian that has not gone through the back way, that has not been illegal somewhere, that has not agreed to voluntary returns, you cannot access this package. So what would happen for Melville to attract and access this package? Melville has to go through the perilous journey. Melville has to go through the back way to come back to Gambia and be accessible or be part of or fit into the conditions of these packages. So that was my problem at the time.
Yes, at the time.
And what I felt was there has to be a broad spectrum of incentives or creation of jobs, creation of opportunities for the average Gambian youth, not necessarily having those that have gone and come back.
Maybe that would have kept most of them back. Maybe
what you want to do. What you want to do as a country, a serious country, is to make it so attractive that people don't see the need to want to take this journey. Even though we have to also understand that migration has always happened. Migration happened for the past 100 years, for thousands of years. People migrated for different reasons. There are different pull factors. There are different push factors that are responsible for people to migrate. In time past, we had people in the region, in the sub-region, migrating to Gambia. You had Ghanaians, you had Nigerians, you had people from Guinea-Bissau, you even had Senegalese migrating to Gambia. So migration is a right. It has been established as an international recognized right. However, the government has to negotiate for safe pathways to migration. There has to be safe pathways to migration. And if you have safe pathways to legal migration, you don't make them stringent to a point that the average Gambian cannot access it. That is a fundamental way of starting to change the mindset and starting to put a curb to this menace. I'm sure you must have seen the news where a whole boat has capsized in the Mediterranean.
Oh yeah.
You know, and we saw the tragedy in Bara. So we also have to understand as a country, as a people, that this perilous journey cannot be promoted by any serious government. No serious government can come up with policies that demonstrate their willingness or their acceptance of people going through the back way in such perilous journeys. It is not happening anywhere in the world. Right. Gambia is no exception. You cannot make the country accept that. And if the country continues to engage in such a way, continue to have a discourse in such a way that people take it as normal to go and embark on these perilous journeys, then who are we as a society?
Thank you. That's true. Before we change the topic, do you have any advice for the young ones that, not only young, do you have any advice for us, the immigrants?
I think it's a matter of, I think it's a matter of honesty. It is a matter of honesty. We as a society have to have a different mindset. You see, the picture that has been created, and I mean, I'm talking to people in the diaspora is that it's one that the diaspora is you have streets paved in gold. So you have a mindset whereby you have these boys, these young kids, these young men, already they're grappling, they're struggling with a lack of avenues, a lack of incentive, for them to maximize the best of their potentials. And then you have this I don't want to use the word fake, but this inaccurate picture of what is obtained in the Western countries, in the Western world. The ideology that you have to leave Gambia for you to be successful. The ideology that you have to travel, you have to go somewhere, you have to hustle. And we see what is happening. Even when they come to these countries, they have to engage. Some of them have to engage in things to impress back home. You see somebody go through the back way. In 2 years, 3 years, they've built story buildings. They've sent their parents to Mecca. Nobody is questioning where these monies are coming from. Nobody wants to understand what they're doing in these countries. But it is the accepted norm. It is what is fashionable. So you have somebody, I graduated from the best university in the world. I cannot build story buildings like that. But you have somebody that has gone through the back way, building story buildings, doing stuff. This is the picture that is being painted. And this is an inaccurate picture. So we all have a responsibility to change the discourse, to let people understand that you don't have to travel. You don't have to go abroad for you to make it in Gambia. People have to understand. And if you go to Gambia, you see people go on holidays, all of a sudden they're like, oh, can I have my bottled water, please? Nobody wants to drink one. Hello. Hello. Sorry, Naj Bengal like a Tehangaman Yefi Naj like a macaw, Naj Bengal like a balma. You see people talking and you go to parents' house and they're like, did it book def no hanga I said to how many young bitim real joge. It is just a fallacy. So we need to change the mindset. The mindset has to change. If you look, even if you look at the way our government engages, If you have somebody who is homegrown, studied in the Gambia, they don't appreciate you that much. You have to come from the diaspora, and then they feel that you have an input. You have a greater input. It is a lack of respect for homegrown things. It is a lack of respect for realization that you can be fruitful, you can be positive, you can maximize and do whatever you want to do without having to travel abroad. It is a fake picture that is out there. So it cuts across government, it cuts across everything. It is a responsibility of our society, friends, family, to paint an accurate picture of what is going on in the Western world.
That's true. Thank you. In fact, let me tell you my own story. I haven't been home for years. So 2018, I went home, and I'm a hugger. I love to hug people. So when I get there, I see my own friends, my own people, like they stand back holding to themselves. So I was wondering what happened. They thought if they grabbed me, I would not like them to hug me, you know, or the white shirt that I put on, they don't want to make my shirt dirty. I was really sad about that. That simple thing. I was completely sad
Gambia.
about that.
I was in Gambia. I was in Gambia last year. I got to Gambia. The next day I got to Gambia. I was at Serekunda market. I was doing Duga to come and cook. I woke up in the morning. I went outside. I was sweeping the compound and making sure everywhere was clean. It does not determine who I am. It does not make me. What is England? What is America? It's just a false picture that is being propagated out there. And unless we speak the truth, unless we make people understand and appreciate what we are, who we are as a people, and also have a government that understands that the responsibility of creating an environment where young people will thrive, young people will have access to things that would make them live a profitable life, then that's what we basically need as a country.
Thank you. Before we move on, thank you for that advice. Please share this information, Binto Bantaba community. We will just move on to the OIC topic. We will make it fast, so I can open the line to take just few calls before we let him go. So stand by, do not go. The phone number will be at the bottom right there. It's +1 678 3900 539. Right under your screen right there. Please do not leave. And I told you to bring your food along with you. Didn't I say so? Okay, so we will go to the OIC topic. Quick. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
OIC, the Rohingya Muslims and the Myanmar case. Gambia is the leader. I mean, I would say they lead the case, seeking for justice for these Rohingya Muslims. How did we even get there at the first place?
Well, how we got there is very simple. The Gambia is a member state to the OIC. It's a member of the OIC. And I believe that the issue of the Rohingyas was tabled. It was a very prominent issue on the agenda of the OIC, and at the time, I believe the foreign minister. There was a meeting of Council of Foreign Ministers of the OIC, and the then foreign minister Dabo couldn't attend, so he nominated Batambedu, who was then the Minister of Justice, to attend on his behalf. And of course, in that meeting, the issue was tabled, and Gambia accepted to take the lead, in prosecuting or bringing the matter of the Rohingyas to the ICJ, and that's how it happened. And of course, it was celebrated, and the OIC member states backed the Gambia's decision to do that.
Right. That they were, in fact, the Rohingyans were really happy about it. They pray for the Gambian, every Gambian country at large. But now the issue is, we were celebrating as Gambians too. at least out there we have represent, you know, something that the world will say, Gambia did this. I was part of it. I was in my living room just flipping my arm up. But now we have this claim. Huge amount was given to the Justice Ministry, and they said the money. Do you know anything, or do you have any idea that you can just clarify that portion for us?
What do you need clarification for?
The money.
I would like. What about the money?
The money that was shared by the Justice Ministry. Gambians,
well,
we think.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the money is already shared, but the intention to share is there.
Is there.
And my position on that again is my opinion is that it is wrong. It is absolutely wrong for that to happen. You see, and I see a lot of people making the argument that it is not illegal. And I think it is absolutely illegal because Section 222, 11 and 12 of the Constitution of the Gambia specifically frowns and states that people, individuals, public officials should not be compensated, should not be paid for any work done within the scope of their day-to-day employment. So it is absolutely wrong that a lawyer, a state lawyer within the Ministry of Justice is being paid. And the issue about calling it honorarium or calling it a gift or calling it a fee is just semantics. It's just semantics. The substantive issue is that a public official should not be paid according to the Constitution of the Gambia for any work done ordinarily within the scope of their day-to-day employment.
Oh, they should not be paid.
Absolutely.
So that's illegal then.
So it is illegal. It is illegal. And there is no present regulation that I know of, be it in the financial instructions, be it in the Public Finance Act, that creates the provision of public officials receiving honorarium. So how was that done? What is the regulative framework that govern those payments? And you see, the point is, and this is what people, because the topic is so rife and people are talking about it, and for me, I think as a society, as a country, I think we're mostly dishonest because our take on issues is based on who it is, the individual in question, or the circumstances surrounding the issue. It is not one of a principled stance and value. It is dependent. It switches. It fluctuates like Nawek from day to day. So because the officials involved are members of the Justice Ministry, people shouldn't talk. People shouldn't speak about this. If this was done, if this act was committed by doctors in the health ministry, it would have been all hell broke loose. So for me, I don't understand. And you see, the thing is, the fundamental part is how can one qualify a fee that is 19 times the salary of one individual in the Ministry of Justice? For what reason? The Ministry of Justice is not taking this matter up. The government of the Gambia, the state of Gambia, has contracted with an international firm to take the matter of Myanmar before the ICJ.
Yes.
In fact, if you look at the ICJ documents, if you go on their website, it is there. The state of Gambia, officials of the Justice Ministry are only observers. They are not active counsels in that matter. And if they are, let the Ministry of Justice come out and say so. They are not. They are merely observers. So $200,000, and that is just, if you look at the document that is online, it's just a part payment. It is half of the payment. So the actual payment is in the tune of $400 and something thousand, designated for only 5 officials in an entire justice ministry. Let me tell you what obtains in other countries. For example, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Nigeria is 100 times more richer than Gambia. They take all sorts of international cases. They have a current case right now, which is to the tune of $9 billion. They are not being paid a dime. No public official in Nigeria is being paid a dime because honorarium is not even catered for in their financial regulations or regime. Now, what I expected a ministry that is sincere and honest to do was to negotiate when they were contracting. Because let me tell you something. You see, the argument that was made before the OIC was that the Gambia was willing to take on the issue of Myanmar, but that the Gambia does not have the capacity to do so. So if you, as a state, has recognized the fact that you don't have the capacity to take this particular matter up, and you have contracted an international firm, a reputable firm that has the experience to take such a matter, when you are and I'm telling you the best practice of all the states, when you are contracting on behalf of the state of the Gambia, in your clauses, on your contractual clauses in that contract, you would ask the contracting firm to build the capacity of your justice ministry, so that in the future you don't need to take an external firm, but you would have the required skill and expertise to take such a matter. If you have $200 million, $200 million, you're asking for honorarium for 5 officials of the Ministry of Justice. If what is being said out there is anything to go by, $420,000 is to the tune of $21 million. And these individuals, 5 individuals, are not only asking for it for just that particular payment, but for a period of 5 years. $21 million times 5. $21 million. $21 million, sorry. $21 million times 5. It can reform the entire structure and system of the Ministry of Justice. Every single staff, no matter their designation, can be fully equipped intellectually, academically, professionally, in every aspect with that money. Why would 5 individuals sit down and think that they have the right to share that amount of money to the detriment of an entire institution?
Oh my mercy. So this money should have gone to the ministry, the justice. I don't even know.
I am saying, if you have, listen, you see, the thing is, now, the state, and this is what people have to understand. This is not a justice ministry affair.
Yeah.
For a state to make the decision to prosecute another state, to take another state to the ICJ, it is squarely within the purview of the foreign ministry. Because what you also have to understand, when you take such a position, it is a foreign policy stance. When the Gambia decided that they were going to bring the issue of the Rohingyas to the International Court of Justice, what the Gambia was basically saying is that our foreign policy is that we will stand by, we will not stand by and watch minority groups, in this instance a religious group, being killed, being maimed, being done acts of genocide on them. We will not sit by and do it. So this is a foreign policy decision. And when states take other states to court, when states prosecute, it is not only an issue of legality. It is not just law. It is not just an issue of a breach of international human rights. There are diplomatic considerations. There are foreign policy considerations. So this is not only a justice ministry issue. By right, what would have happened, it should have been for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to decide to take on this matter and then send an advisory or send a correspondence across to the Ministry of Justice to sound their opinion on the legal side of things. And this is only done in the Gambia because in the Gambia, the foreign ministry does not have a legal department. But ordinarily, in other countries, foreign ministries have legal department. They have international lawyers vested in that ministry, and they would have taken such a decision. So the whole issue of Myanmar and the Gambia is mostly that of a foreign policy issue. Now, when Batambedu attended the meeting of foreign ministers, he had to be granted full powers by the then Minister of Foreign Affairs. He cannot go and speak on behalf of the government without having been given full powers by the foreign minister. If the Justice Ministry wants to correspond to the OIC or to any member state of that, for that matter, it would have to go through the foreign ministry. Therefore, it is inconceivable, and I don't understand why a few individuals can deem themselves so privileged that 200,000, in this instance, what we are talking about, $420,000 to be shared among 5 individuals, $21 million. I know, I can tell you as a matter of fact, there are very, very young, bright Gambians within the foreign ministry, within the justice ministry, young lawyers within the justice ministry. These monies should have been designated for the actual development of that ministry. Wallahi, I could tell you that these monies would have it would have changed the Ministry of Justice in every aspect. But few individuals want to take this money and share it among themselves.
So the government even allow that. This money, so it belongs to the government instead of the 5 individuals.
Absolutely, because you see, you need to understand this. When OIC member, because what happened when the Gambia decided to take this matter on, what the OIC said was that we will back you, we will support you, but there is no documentation that anyone can produce where the OIC Secretariat or its member states have legally said that they will foot the bill and take the legal responsibility of paying this international firm. This firm was not contracted. There is no contractual obligation between the international firm representing the Gambia and the OIC Secretariat or OIC member states. The contractual obligation is squarely between the state of Gambia and this international firm. So therefore, the legal responsibility rests squarely on the Gambia. So if for any reason OIC members decide that they cannot foot the entire bill, imagine this firm is charging $1.5 million a year for this matter. And if you understand how the ICJ works, this matter might take another 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Yes. So therefore, the OIC decided that we are going to set up a kitty, like we're going to have a pot, and every member state can contribute towards this gesture. But the legal responsibility, the contractual obligation between the firm representing the Gambia, is not within them and the Ministry of Justice. It is between them and the state of Gambia. And now let me tell you what is defined by law as honorarium.
An honorarium is a token sum. The operative word here being token. It's a token amount given to an individual for services that they have rendered, which ordinarily they cannot be charged for, or they cannot charge for or be paid for. Now, the operative word being token and being services rendered. Services rendered. This matter has not even commenced in the ICJ. Before officials of the Ministry of Justice share among themselves, let them pay their obligation towards this external firm. That should have been the first thing.
The external firm, I think it's in the United States here.
It's in the United States.
I think it's here. And but the government came out and defend them. They say it is legal. The presser that came out was rubbish, absolute rubbish. It was rubbish. The presser that came out was total rubbish, total nonsense, absolute nonsense. There was nothing in that presser that was true. There was nothing in that presser that was true. There are no legal requirements. There are no legal provisions that allows for somebody to be paid that amount of money for honorarium. No, that is not true. That is not true. So another part of payment is coming up.
And you see, it's so funny because people have to understand. You see, in diplomacy, when states talk with one another, there is no right answer. There is no and yes. So it is not the OIC member states or the OIC secretariat that offered this money to the Gambia.
Oh, that was my next question.
It is the Gambia, in particular the Justice Ministry, that communicated their fees that is being charged to them by the international firm, and also asked that they be paid. They asked, which is again a violation of the constitutional provision, because a public official cannot ask for a payment for work that is being done ordinarily by virtue of their employment. And what you also have to understand is that when a state asks, do you think the OIC will tell the Gambia, no, we are not giving it to you?
No.
Do you think the OIC member states will tell Gambia no? Or will tell Batambedu no? Because when Batambedu or any official of the Justice Ministry speaks to the OIC believes that it is a communication endorsed by the state of Gambia. So if Batambedu had gone and asked for a payment of $1 million to himself, it is not the practice for OIC member states or the secretariat to tell him, sorry, sir, Mr. Tambedu, we will not do it. It does not happen in diplomacy. But if you look at all communications that would emanate from the OIC secretariat, it will say to the effect that the OIC commends the Gambia, the state of Gambia. The OIC recognizes the position of the state of Gambia. At all times, the legal responsibility rests squarely with the state of Gambia. If for any reason, OIC member states do not contribute enough to pay this money, it falls back on the government of the Gambia to pay.
So do you think when they went in first, they have agreed with the Gambian people that the Gambians will be paid? Don't you think they have that agreement?
What agreement?
To be paid, because they cannot just have this money like that. Don't you think they have agreement to be paid?
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. Because a country asked. Now, you need to understand this.
Right.
The Gambia is a member state of the OIC.
Right.
The Gambia goes to the OIC and says that, okay, we are going to take this. Listen, have you thought about it? Why didn't other states take up this matter? They're big states. There's Bangladesh. There's Bangladesh that actually gave 500,000. But you see, these states did not take up this matter because they did not want to jeopardize their diplomatic relations with other states. Now Gambia decided to take this matter on. But for example, now, if you look at the issue of what is happening in China, Muslims are being killed in China by the large numbers. Has the Gambia taken a position on that? So you see how contradictory a foreign policy there is, because in one hand, Gambia is saying we will prosecute Myanmar for the rights of Muslims. They should not commit any genocidal acts against Muslims. On the other hand, the Gambia is whining and dining with China on a daily basis and has not condemned any single action of the Chinese against Muslims in that country. Do you then begin to question and understand the rationale for Gambia to take up this matter? It was because a few people are going to benefit from it substantially.
Well, that's I don't have the words. Been told by my community, I'm sorry, I don't have the words. I don't have anything else. You guys can call. The line is open. It's +16783900539. Look under your screen. He's here. We will keep him for another 10 minutes. Please call. You can call and please call. I don't have no questions. Please call. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, because I, for one, I could not believe it. I said, no, this money must be offered to them for free for their services. And I didn't know that the legal part of it, they're not supposed to get that money. So, okay, well, okay, hold on. We already having callers. Most of them have gone for Ndogo, but they will come by, then you were gone. Hold on. Y'all hold on, I'm speechless because We have a caller here. I have to put this on. Thank you for clarifying some of these things. We the Gambians, we just lack the knowledge. Hold on. Hello, caller.
Hello. Good evening, Bindu.
Good evening. What's your name, please?
Dauda Samade.
Samate, you can speak any language, and I will translate it to Mr. Roberts. You can say it in English too. Mr. Roberts, you can hear him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I want Mr. Robert. First of all, I want to thank him for his time and that he devoted to come to your platform.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I want him to clarify two things here, because he's saying that the Gambian wants us to lose the 50 million that the European unions are giving for us to develop our facilities or infrastructural development, such as, do we want our Gambians to come back here? It seems that the Gambia government takes something in exchange of turning our people's back. And if you look at these two things,
mm-hmm.
as he earlier said,
mm-hmm.
the 21% of GDPs come from diaspora.
Yes.
So if we were these two things, the 50 million that the European Union will give to us,
mm-hmm.
and the 21% of income that the diasporans are bringing,
mm-hmm.
which of these two is more beneficiary to us?
Okay, the remittances, right?
Yes. When he said that, did we want Gambian peoples to forgo the 50 millions that the European Union gave to us,
mm-hmm.
or did we want so our people to be there. It seems that there's a foul play there. They get something under that he is trying to defend on one way or the other.
Okay.
Okay. Another point that I want to say. You see, this honorarium issue started since the first day of this government came into power.
Okay.
When the president was given a vehicle without knowing the source of it, and everyone was celebrating the politician he is with, because they are with the same line with him, supported the motion now. They supported this as something that is legal. They cannot make it foul play. Something that is right yesterday can't be wrong today. Okay. So it was wrong since then, and the problem has been there for long since. The problem is at the top. The president has been taking gifts on behalf of the country, giving gifts to the people. So automatically, if the junior staff did it, that is why even the National Assembly cannot ask the government why are they doing this, because the first people, the vehicle that is taking them to their office is not clear to them. So you cannot put someone so transparency right when as well you are also, your hands are dirty. So this is the problem. There has to be total system change in this country if we want to move forward. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay. Mr. Roberts, he sent 2 questions.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. The first question is, I'm not sure he got me right. I was just giving an example, an analogy of what was happening. I never said the government is taking 50 million and then refusing deportation. So I gave a scenario saying that whatever the government gives, whatever the government benefits from the EU has to be considered. You cannot just discard it. And I don't see how any individual can just say that the government that the government should discard this notion, this idea, this agreement, just because and take a position not to say no to deportation. It doesn't work like that. That's not how governments operate. A government is not a business entity. It's not an individual that makes decision for your little family at home or for the people that you're under. This is a government that makes decision for the entire welfare of 2-point-something million Gambians. And the people that are being deported, it's not every Gambian that is being deported. Yes. So you cannot equate the fact that people are being deported to remittances of the 21% of the GDP to equating it to the benefits of a major donor partner to the development of your country. It is not every Gambian that is being deported. So that cannot be, you cannot equate the two. And that is what I was trying to say. And again, like I said, that was my opinion. I am not saying that is the position of government. I'm saying if I were to be head of state, these are the considerations I will have. Yes, in government decisions, there are bound to be people who would be aggrieved. Not everybody would be happy. So some people would not be happy. Some people would be happy. But again, when you make decisions that would affect the entire welfare of every citizen of your country. Okay. And that's what I think.
Yeah, his second question was, if the president is accepting gifts, what about the junior official? But I want you to hold on to that because
I don't know anything about the president accepting gifts. That is not my place to say. That is a matter for public discourse, and anybody can have an idea or an opinion on that. The one that I have is the one that is dealing with public officials, where there is a particular law prescribed and provided for by the Constitution of the Gambia that such action is illegal and should not happen.
Okay. Okay.
So it does not matter, and it does not matter whether every single person is receiving honorarium daily. Even if that is what is happening, wrong is wrong. It does not matter who commits. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, caller. What's your name, please?
Yes, it's Ibrahim Binda.
Okay, Ibrahim, rolling. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You have raised an important topic today, and then it's very, very important to talk about the situation right now in hand.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, but it is very, very, very disappointing. If our country is going to be sanctioned by the EU because of the visa process.
Okay. You guys can continue calling. This line went off. Gambia. So he's trying to say that he haven't said much.
I think I understand. He was trying to say that the visa restrictions but I think I had explained that the visa sanctions, as far as I'm concerned, is limited to officials of the Gambia and not to the citizens of the Gambia.
Okay, Mr. Roberts, he's back. Okay, go ahead, Ibrahim.
I think it's because of the connection issue.
Yes, go ahead.
But also, if you also see the calculated issue of deporting also our youths, because many of our youths, their parents and then their grandfathers, they sold their lands and then their properties to get to Europe. You understand? And then many poor families are suffering in the Gambia. Men are suffering each and every day. Women are also crying, they're struggling. They cannot even sleep at night, only at night. And then also children. So also you have to calculate the issue of the children also. Some parents and then, like I said, some parents and then the grandparents, they all sold their properties. Some sold their lands. And then that's the only properties that their eyes are set on. And they also sold many properties just to make sure that their children and then some. Will you even believe that there are some females who even also struggle to get to Europe? Some even die on the way. You understand? So it will be very, very difficult also to say that you are going to deport these children back to home, and then they are not having anything at home. You understand? So this two things also is at the critical situation right now. And then, but what I'm saying is that the country, the leaders of the country, they need to go and they represent the country and then put this case in hand and then talk about the situation, because these two things, cannot be favorable to our country.
So Ibrahim, if I should ask you to decide right now, let's say you are Melville today. If I should ask you, you have to choose one. You are against the sanction and you are against the deportation.
I think sanction will be better, because if calculate the issue, if the backway boys, I can say, if they get back to home, what next do you think will happen?
And did you listen what Mr. Robert was saying? Sanction visa, they can start squeezing your arm. Yeah,
I didn't get here early. I just recently joined.
Okay.
So I didn't have the previous discussion.
Okay.
So that's why.
Yeah. Well. Thank you for choosing deportation. You don't want them to be deported. Thank you for choosing that. All right. You guys can call. We can take 2 more calls before we let him go. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
Ibrahim is saying that for him, he will prefer the government to be sanctioned.
Yes, it's a subjective view. It's a matter of choice. And I mean, when you deal with people and coming from different diverse backgrounds and coming from different settings and understanding, and I don't know what his story is. I don't understand where he has come from. So he might be justified in saying that. That is his way. That is how he sees it. I see it in a different way. I see it in a different light. I feel that if like he said, that if a family is there who has so many land that they can sell to give somebody to go through such perilous journey, I would advocate that money be used in the Gambia to develop that person. But it is a matter of choice. It is a matter of understanding, because like I said, it is very difficult for a government to be seen to actually promote the illegal migration. I mean, there's no country on earth that is doing that. And by saying that people are selling their lands and you should not accept it, what you're basically saying is, sell all your lands and give it to your young people to go to the back way. And we don't want that. So yes, we appreciate. You see, I keep saying we, so I don't know what the government is thinking, but I appreciate the fact that that people are going through all these stringent things to make sure that they send their kids abroad. So I appreciate that. I recognize that. But what I am saying is, as a government cannot be seen to be promoting that ideology or that practice.
We have to let the callers hold on. Let them hold on. There's this burning question. Everybody is texting me. Since we have you here, we want to ask you. I want to ask you about the OIC summit coming in, but hold on to that, because we would like to return you. We would like you to come back again. But I don't want you to. We don't have time for that one. Another time we can talk about that. Oh, call. Let me get this call. Oh goodness. Let me receive this call because. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, caller.
Hello. Yes. Good evening, ma.
Good evening. What's your name, please?
I am Sanusi Kamara, a Gambian currently residing in Turkey, having my studies.
Please, you can roll in. We have the best of the best. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, my issue on regards of the deportation as well as the sanction, I think I prefer the sanction. You understand? The Gambia is a sovereign state which has to deal with the absolute power of our own self. We have the absolute power of a state to exercise supreme legal authorities within our own affairs, within our territories, without any form of external influence. So the Europeans, in short, have been here for 300 years. They were in the Gambia for 300 years plus, overgrazing our land without us spearheading on the issues of visa. We didn't ask them for any visa. So the same sequence will follow. If they think that they can wage sanction on us, well, let them go for it. But the deportation, we are not going to compromise with that.
Okay.
Let them keep our brothers and sisters there when they bring them here, and we will obviously return them back. And we have those zeal in us.
Okay.
You understand? Yes, that is my point of observation here.
Okay.
So the sanction, I think, is better on the other way around. No one knows. The Europeans, the time our people were suffering trying to go to Europe, they don't know how they suffer.
Okay.
So we should do justice here. They were in our land for 300 plus. So why can't we be there for, let's say, 10 years or 15 years? So we are sovereign state, and we are not going to allow anyone to dictate our principles. And we are not going to allow anyone to tell us how we are going to move. And we are not going to be allowed to be oppressed and suppressed. That's
Okay.
my point.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. We have another caller. Hello?
Hello.
Reduce the background, please. What's your name?
My name is Malang.
Malang, can you roll in?
I just wanted to ask a question. I've obviously been following him a lot on his Facebook page, and I've got a lot of respect for him. When he talked about the Rohingya issue, I understand and I get him. But my question is, it's unethical, probably illegal. I'm not sure about the illegality of it. But what does he think that can be done? Do we have to go after them for the money? Or is that even a possibility or not? But apart from that, I just said, I've been following him a lot on his Facebook page. A young man with a lot of potential. Keep on going with Oxford thing. It's one of the best universities in the UK. Thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
hang on to that question. Hang on to that question. Let me answer this call. I said 2 more calls, but the calls are coming in. Hello?
Yeah, hello, Sister Vento.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yes,
My side.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name, please?
My name is Ansumana Jata. I'm your brother.
Oh, Jata.
Yes.
Rolling,
Yeah.
Jata and Jai.
Yeah, thanks to your guest. Yes, he has mentioned a very important topics today. Yes, like in Gambian, our attitudes has to change. You know, we have to change our attitude because what Mr. Robertson is saying, when we are changing government, we are not thinking of the aspect of the responsibility of what that government is bringing up. You know, so they just come in with anything that is going to be like affecting the Gambians. They are not thinking of those things in those days. So everything, like you said, democracy comes with responsibility. So something that you say you don't have a democracy, you have a dictator, but that dictatorship level on that person, the reason why we'd never find out. So I think what Mr. Robertson is saying, this is the problem to every department in the Gambia. It's not only justice or health. You go anywhere, there's a problem. So we have to come together and enlighten people to know what is exactly is happening in the Gambia. I thank you very much for this platform because it's educating Gambians. We are knowing what we don't know. So I'm saying big thanks to you and Mr. Robertson. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you, Jata. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Robert, just call us, you know. Okay. Caller, hold on.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yes.
Take your time.
Binto Bantaba Network, we our people, they have to call because they are the ones that communicates with you. So let me let them in, okay? Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, Binto, how are you? This is Sidia Sani.
Sane, how are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, Sane, you can roll it.
I just have an advice from this good brother. Because there are so many allegations which have been laid against Batambiru and no clearance, either from him or from the government. One, Ba was alleged that Jammeh's assets were sold and no Gambian knows how much it was sold.
Okay.
And on the allegation, they said it was sold to his close associates.
Okay.
And people alleged him that he have get a benefit out of the sales.
Okay.
These are all allegations. Now comes to this issue of the 200, Ba's name is there. Now, if he is to advise me, in any day I'm ready to challenge as a Gambia in any court of law to make sure that this is very clear. Ba have to come out and set light to the Gambians to make sure those monies have to come out, either Jammeh's assets or this 200. How is he going to advise me?
Okay. So are you insinuating that we should, as Gambians, we should take him to court, or do what?
To me, Binto, Jammeh's assets, what have been pronounced was a lot of money.
Okay.
Even no matter how much amount it was sold or sold, they have to come out and tell Gambians to understand, because we all know the way they sold the assets was wrong.
Okay.
Because there was no court of law proofing for those assets to be sold.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, look at what is going. In fact, instead of helping the country to generate, they are making us losing. Now imagine those tractors were very expensive.
Okay.
They sold it at giveaway prices, and the government want to look another tractors again to give it to the farmers. What a waste of money is that?
That's true.
So if Batambi was the legal advisor to the president, we have to hold him responsible, even the president is accounted for.
Okay. Okay.
Because his name has been calling for so many long, but nobody comes out from him, either from his side, to clear it out. And people are saying Batambiru, Batambiru. People said because of that, that's why he resigned.
Did you think he failed us?
So to me, either in this government or any other government, Batambiru and the court should be sued to court.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. The callers, they have to, we will bring him back. We will, you guys know we will bring him back. He have to come back. But we have to stop the calls right now. Mr. Roberts.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You heard a few questions and few statements. What do you want to say to those people?
Okay, let me answer the last caller. I think, yes, he's got every right as a Gambian to take, to bring an action in court for if he believes that a particular, some assets were sold or give away to friends and family. He's a Gambian, and it's been deemed that these are things that belong to the Gambian state. Then yes, he can absolutely do so. I believe that if not now, I believe like people, no matter what, with time will be held account for whatever they do here or the hereafter. So if the allegations are true, then really it will be paid for at some point. But yes, he's got absolute legal rights to do so.
Yeah, this other caller was asking, what do we need to get this money get this money from them?
I think it would be a travesty if this money is paid to these individuals. I think it should not be paid. It should not be paid at all in any shape or form. If they were paid, it should be collected back.
Right. Oh boy. Let me take one more call, then I'll let you go. Then I'll let you go. I have to take this order. I mean, I have to. I just feel they have so much to discuss with you. They have so much to discuss with you. I mean,
Aspects Safari Gambia. Buonasera. Good evening. Yes, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name, please?
Yes, I'm Minte. How are you?
Mr. Minte, you roll in.
Yes, I clear the benefit of the doubt about this deportation issue is the best thing for the Gambia is to have an embassy in Italy whereby Gambians can lodge their problems, complaints there.
Okay.
Moreover, too many Gambians here, a lot of them here are involved in a problem whereby at the end of the day, they don't know anywhere to go and lodge their complaints.
Okay.
Obviously, she's crazy.
Yes.
The government should come at the boat to help the Gambians living in diaspora, moreover in Italy.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you. We appreciate. Let me get this order call. Mr. Roberts, they said you have to stay another 15 minutes.
Oh, that's the last question, really.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
This is probably a personal one.
Okay.
For Melville. So, what's the future? I know you're at Oxford. You're doing very well. Are you doing a doctorate? What does the future hold for you, anyway?
Yes.
Thank you.
What the future hold for him? He's doing this. Come on, Mr. Roberts.
What does the future hold for me? That's a tough one. I don't really know because of course I'm still a staff of the government of the Gambia. I'm away on approved. I was on approved study leave. I'm now on an approved leave of absence. But I don't know if really my country appreciates me, and I don't know if I can really maximize the best of my potentials in the Gambia. I have not decided yet on that, but I am exploring. I am looking at different avenues because I have come to the conclusion that Gambia is a country where people are. If you're thriving or you're doing well, people don't like you, and people come up with a lot of things to suppress you, and they don't celebrate geniuses. They celebrate mediocrity. That's what they understand. So really, I'm weighing my options. I cannot be caged. I like to grow. I like to be myself. I like to give objective views as to things. I am not a person that can be constricted. I don't like to, be in an environment where I have to be a yes person or a yes boy. So I think I have the qualifications to really do whatever I want to do, honestly, when it comes to my career. So I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it and I'm praying.
So Victor Bantaba community has said, you coming home with us. We're going home. We have to walk. We have to do something.
Well, yeah.
Okay. We have to take this last call. That's it.
You keep saying last call.
Every time I say one last call. Every time I say one last call. But this is the last call. Yes. My son is crying on the background. He is mama's boy. Hello.
I'm also mama's boy. The program is so interesting. I don't think we'll be going home today. There is absolutely no last call today.
Mama's boy on the phone. He said we're not. This program.
I am also Mama's.
Yes.
I am also Mama's boy. I know we will just steal a little bit of your time, probably the next 15 minutes. So, because the program is just very interesting, I just called in to thank Melville, Robert, and for you and all the callers that are participating. You know, both calling and the comments also. The program is very, very interesting. It has enlightened a lot of people, and looking forward to seeing it more often. You know, coming in and enlightening enough people.
What's your name, Mama's boy? What's your name?
Yeah. My name is Suleiman.
Suleiman, thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate him. You see what we do here, Mr. Roberts? You see this? Binto Bantawa, we don't. Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Caller?
Yes, hello.
What's your name, please?
My name is Alaji Nyang.
Nyang, you can roll in.
Yeah, I want to ask a question about this guy, not about the deportation, but the foreign issues here about the foreign embassies or the diplomatics of Gambians. Because Gambians have been facing this difficulty for many countries, you know, which I have experienced this for in China and Angola and so many countries, that whereby Gambians would call for Gambian diplomatic for issues if they are in a detention or in a difficulty. They don't answer for our calls, or we don't see them for any kind of help. So what are the Gambia foreign minister doing about this for Gambians?
Okay, we appreciate that question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think.
Go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, I think we had we talked about that, and we had earlier on in the program that is it's unacceptable. I mean, it's unacceptable. I think it's something that the government must look into. It's something that the foreign ministry should look into. I think you know, the ministry should be accessible to Gambians, especially in instances of such nature. Where really it is very, very important that Gambians should be able to make contact with their representative abroad. So really, honestly, I think it's something, if it's a listening government, see, because a government must listen, a government must feel the pulse of its citizens. And I think if it's a listening government, two things that have been very prominent in this program is the fact that, one, there should be some sort of a mission in Italy and one in Germany. And I think this is something that the foreign ministry should look into. The government as a whole should look into. And I think, you know, I'm sure if, you know, the foreign minister happens to you know, stumble upon this program, it's something that I'm sure he will take on board. That you know, the concerns of Gambians are that the embassies, the missions of the Gambia abroad are not reachable in times of emergencies or in crucial times. So that is something that has to change, because it is not right. It is unacceptable.
Please share this information so this information will reach to the right people so they can listen. We always blame them. Sometimes we have to speak out. That's why Binto Bantaba community is here. We are here to discuss real issues so that they will hear us. Please share this information. Mr. Roberts, I just want you to come up with just 3 minutes before I let you go. Senegal-Gambia relationship. That is, Gambians are speaking about their dissatisfaction about the relationship. As a foreign policy lawyer, please give us a short, maybe something. Just tell us something about it, just a little, before we let you go.
Okay. You see, when you say Gambians are not happy, I think that's a bit. It's a bit inaccurate, because it's not the true
all the Gambians, right? Some Gambians.
It's not the true reflection of the reality. I think what Gambians are not happy about is certain aspects of the cooperation, the relationship between Gambia and Senegal. But I don't think they're not happy with the relationship with Gambia and Senegal, because Gambia has a long history, a long-standing relationship with Senegal, because we share so many things with Senegal, not only culturally, but we're basically one people. You understand? So there's a lot of cultural ties, there's a lot of historical ties, there's a lot of political ties, and of course, Gambia is one of the first. Senegal is one of the first countries to establish diplomatic relationship with the Gambia. So Senegal has played very, very pivotal role in Gambia's political space. So I don't think it's Gambians not being happy with the relationship. What I think is there are aspects of the relationship with Senegal that has now that has now amounted to something very contentious, and this is the issue of the agreement, the fishing agreement between the Gambia and Senegal, and also the hot pursuit agreement where Senegalese authorities can just run into the Gambia and get whoever they want and fly back and go back. So I think really, of course, you have issues of trade across the border, but that is more of it's not contentious. It is just the approach that is different from day to day by different government, depending on their policies and understanding of what their trade regulations are between Gambia and Senegal. Now, when you come to the fishing agreement between Gambia and Senegal, I have always said, and like I remember, I think if I can remember right, it was at the National Assembly then when this agreement was being looked at or validated. I can't remember but we had an interdepartmental meeting where the fisheries minister and the permanent secretary were both present. And for me, you see, when you look at agreements, especially agreements between states, especially like bilateral agreements of this nature, it is very easy. It is very easy, and you find this a lot in diplomacy and foreign policy issues when government would say that, but the agreement is reciprocal. So whatever we are getting from this agreement, that is what we are all offering them. So, for example, you're saying that if Senegal is being allowed to fish in your waters, you are also allowing if Senegal is allowing the Gambia to fish in its waters, the Gambia is also allowing Senegal to fish in its waters. And these were the kind of arguments that was being put forward by officials at the fisheries ministry at the time. But I was a different opinion. I had a different opinion, and I expressed this openly in that meeting. What I tried to say is, yes, agreements have the whole aspect of reciprocity. It's always present, especially in bilateral relations. But you have to, when you carve agreements, you have to look at you have to go beyond the face of the agreement and look at the mechanisms in place to enjoy the fruits of that agreement. And this is where I feel the Gambia failed in that regard. Because, for example, if you are saying that, yes, Senegal has the right to fish in our waters, and you have the right to fish in Senegalese waters, but you have to take into consideration the present day realities and circumstances that the Gambia is faced with and what Senegal is faced with. So, for example, how many fishing trawls do we have in the Gambia compared to what Senegal has? So if Senegal has 100 and Senegal is fishing in your waters and you only have about 5, what is happening is Senegal is conserving its marine resources whilst your marine resources are being depleted. So even though the agreement on the face of it seems to be equal, but because of the mechanisms in place, because of your economic power, because of your fishing or your industry viability, you don't enjoy the same benefits because you cannot do what the other bigger nation can do. So I think this is what should be considered when governments make agreements or negotiate agreements of such nature. Yes, the issue of reciprocity is ever present, but you have to look at the agreement and understand, would I be able to enjoy the same benefits that Senegal would enjoy? So what is happening now, you have Senegal fishing in our waters, you have the Chinese fishing in our waters, you have the EU fishing in our waters, and marine resources is being completely depleted. We don't have, I don't know of any robust policies that the government have in, whereas, we can build and conserve our marine resources. So you have people struggling. Now the price of fish is so high, people can't even afford it. So when you go and make such an argument, what an official would tell you from the fisheries ministry is that, but it is a fair agreement. What we are offering Senegal, Senegal is also offering us. But what Senegal can bite and chew, you cannot bite and chew. And this is what I feel is wrong in this agreement. Now, when you look at the issue of the hot pursuit, it's something, it's a principle provided for in international law. But again, it comes to it boils down to mechanisms in place to adequately supervise the regime that regulates the hot pursuit agreement. So if you say that Senegal, there's a hot pursuit agreement between Gambia and Senegal, you also have to look at the instances of how many times have Gambia been able to actually enjoy the benefits of such an agreement where Gambia would be engaged in such hot pursuit real-time events. And then you look at the historical and geographical context of Senegal with regards to the hot pursuit agreement. So what is happening is you don't just make these agreements without having adequate security analysis and concerns of the realities of your porous borders, your community that share certain things geographically, and you have villages that one side is in Senegal, the other side is in the Gambia. So all of these things has to be looked at in reality, and also you have to look at the manpower, the resources of the Senegalese security forces vis-a-vis our security forces. And also, it's not just making agreements and just leaving it at that. When you negotiate agreements, you have to have a regulatory framework to regulate the conditions and terms of that agreement so that it is not abused, it is not subjected to overplay. And I feel these are the things that Gambians are not happy about. And as a state, as a country, if you make agreements that really affect the day-to-day lives of your citizens, especially people who the agreement affects, I think these agreements should be looked at again, and it should be renegotiated. There is no closure to agreements in diplomacy. It can always be renegotiated. The terms of the agreement can always be looked at. You understand? So, and Gambia is a sovereign state. The sovereignty of the country cannot ever be diminished by whatever agreement that the country has agreed to. So it can be looked at. It could be amended. And I feel these are the two things that Gambians are not happy about when it comes to the issue of the relationship between Senegal and the Gambia. But other than that, I think they have an excellent relationship. I think the history, the cultural ties, the societal ties, the religious ties, I think it is phenomenal. The political ties is amazing. And I think it is something that we should nurture as a state. It is something that we should nurture as a country and as a people, and not bring anything that would amount to a breakdown of this excellent relationship.
That's exactly I was trying to ask, but when the stomach is hungry, the brain don't work. So when the brain don't work, the mouth don't communicate well. We appreciate you, and I've cheated your time. I've cheated you a lot. So our last question is, when we put complaints out, just like today, the important topics we just throw at you back and forth. Some Gambians will still tell us, be patient with the government. Be patient, exercise patience. They're a new government. They've been here for 4 years, only 4 years. Be patient. So now, what can you tell us?
What can I tell you about what?
What can you advise us? Because most Gambians will say, well, you guys need to be patient. We talk about deportation. So the deportees, we tell them, well, be patient, or the migrants out there, we tell them to be patient. So now, any advice for us on all the topics we talked about? Any advice you can throw at us right now?
I think patience, yes. Citizens must be patient with their governments, but I think there is a line.
Okay.
I think a government must also listen. And I think a government must also understand and feel the pulse and the struggles of the everyday citizen. You see, a government is nothing without the people that put them in office. A government is absolutely nothing without the people that put them in office. But again, it boils down to what we understand. It boils down to our awareness. It boils down to our civic understanding and realities of our day-to-day dealings. So the relationship between citizen and government is one that I think has been flawed for a long time based on our political historical context. So, for example, we are talking about the issues of deportation. And if you talk to some of these officials in these foreign countries, they will tell you that some of the time they make decisions that they are not happy with. They make decisions that they don't want to do. They get into these aspects of deportation, not because they're happy sending people home, but because the people that put them in office, taxpayers, have to see them to be doing something. Because remember, when these people run for office, they sell their manifestos, they sell their agendas to their populace, and the populace holds them to account for these things that they have made or promised. And if they don't fulfill, there is no way that they're going to bring them back into office. In the Gambia, is different. We're still into the politics of benefit, the politics of envelopes, the politics of giving gifts. People don't understand. They cannot hold their leaders accountable. I am not a member of any political party, and the reason why I am not a member of any political party is because I want to be able to criticize my leader. I cannot blindly follow the leader. If I'm part of NPP and Adam Barrow does something that is wrong, I want to be free to tell him that you are wrong. If I'm part of the UDP and Lawyer Dabo does something that is wrong, I have to be free and able to tell him that you have done something that is wrong. If I'm part of PDOIS, I need to be able to hold Halifa Saleh to account. I cannot just accept everything that comes because it comes from our leaders. So for me, yes, patience should be there, but understanding between government and people is lacking. The people don't know, they don't understand the relationship vis-a-vis the government doesn't understand the people. So the government feels it is as of right. So you call government officials, you have something important to discuss with a government official, you call them, they feel they don't have to speak to you. They feel they're better than you because of a particular position they're holding. My friend, for heaven's sake, we had grandfathers that held those positions. They are no more. We had fathers that held those positions. They are no more. It is not yours. It is not your mother's. It is not your father's. It is a state institution. Individuals will come and go. The state will remain. The institution is bigger than the person. I don't have to succumb and lick anybody's boots because of a particular position that you hold in government at the time. I will not do it. I will not do it. Leaders have to be held accountable. Leaders have to deliver. And if they don't deliver, the populace have every right to hold them accountable. But how can the populace hold them accountable if the populace don't understand what is required of their leaders? How can the leaders seem to deliver to the populace if the leaders don't understand what is required of them by the very populace, the very individuals that put them into office? So you see in an election year in Gambia, everybody is scrambling for people. You have all the fashion shows, you have all the benefits, you have all the gifts. But what happens in the 4 years? So yes, you can tell your people to be patient, but you cannot tell them to be patient forever. Just as you want them to be patient, you also have to deliver. You also have to be seen to deliver. You have to feel your people. You're not better than them because of a particular position that you hold. You're not more privileged than them because of a particular position that you hold. For crying out loud, it is not your position. You're being paid by Gambian taxpayers. You are absolutely nothing. You amount to absolutely nothing without those people paying and taking care of your everyday life. The very privileges that you enjoy is as a result of struggling Gambians who are paying their taxes, who owe allegiance and feel responsible towards their state. It is not a position of privilege. You go to government office, you want to talk to a particular official, they behave as if they are heaven, they are God. They behave in a way that they can't even be approached. So that notion has to change. People all have to understand that they are servants of the people. You must be seen to be serving. It's not a privilege. It's not a position to build skyscrapers and build houses. It's not a position to make connection. You are nobody. Being a minister, being a government spokesperson, being a vice president, being a president does not make you God. It's a particular position that you're holding for a particular point in time. Others have held that position before you. You are holding it today. Somebody else will hold it tomorrow. At the end of the day, your responsibility is to act right. Your responsibility is to deliver. Your responsibility is to uplift your people. When you come and you meet a people, you meet a set of people, you meet your national in a particular way. Your responsibility is to uplift them and make them better.
Thank you.
We have had enough of Yaya Jammeh did this. We have had enough of Yaya Jammeh did that. Show us what you can do. Show us what you can do. I don't want to be a part of a political discourse that tells me all about the failures of Adama Barrow. Yes, you believe Adama Barrow have failed. Tell me what you would do differently. Tell me how you will not be another Adama Barrow. Tell me what you're going to offer me. Tell me what mechanisms in place are there so that I can hold you accountable if you don't deliver. So this is what we need as a society. An understanding between people and state, an understanding between government and the people. And if we have an understanding of this symbiotic relationship, nurture this relationship, I guess the Gambia would move forward. But our conversation has to be honest. Our discourse has to be honest. You don't have to like Melville to appreciate the fact that Melville can deliver. I am not looking for somebody to like me. I am looking for somebody to respect what I can deliver. I am looking for somebody to respect my work. I'm looking for somebody to understand the passion that I have to do my work. Don't like me. Don't like me as an individual, but keep that likeness within the sphere of your individual opinion of me.
Oh. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you. They want me to keep you hostage here, but I have to let you go. Brother Melville, we appreciate you. Binto Bantaba community appreciates you. The Gambians appreciate this time you offered to us. We do. And man, that's it. I don't know what else to say. Thank you. Thank you. We have to let you go. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's all I can say. That's thank you, because yes, I've said it in the beginning, you know, I brought the right man for the job, and we appreciate you. We do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, goodness. Thank you. Today is the only time I'm speechless, right? I cannot even, this is it. I mean, we have the brains. Please, if you think you are watching me now, or you came after the show, if you haven't watched the beginning of the show, please, when you have time, please start over. If you are sitting here, you are watching, and you have something you can share with the Gambians, and it will benefit us, being in politics, being on national development. Inbox us and tell us what you can bring to this platform, to the Gambian people, what you can bring, what you can help us with to educate us. We cannot be free if we are not educated. We don't have to be in the classroom. We don't have to be in the classroom. But times like this, medias like this, can educate us, can enlighten us. When you go to a classroom, I did healthcare. I will have no idea about no foreign policy. What I learned today, I've never knew that before. So if you know anything, if you have any skill or profession that you can offer to us, technology, agriculture, anything you think is important for the Gambians, please inbox us. Please volunteer. We have to work together so we can make a difference. That's all I can say. We brought the brother today, Melville Robertson Roberts. You have to watch it yourself and you listen. Yes, that's all I can say. That's all I can say. And we appreciate everybody. I have to let him go and I have to go too. Do not miss next Sunday. I am telling you, you could be a doctor. Please bring it on the table. Bring it. Come and talk to us, our healthcare, our pre-existing conditions in the Gambia. What can we do? What are the things government? Come and talk to us. Come and talk to our government. You don't have to be employed there. If you know anything about agriculture, what do we need to do to improve our agriculture, our infrastructure? Bring it on. Gambians, you have it. It's in there. You have it. Bring it. Any language, bring it. If I have to speak Sarahule, I have no problem. If I have to speak Serer, no problem. Bring it. We do not underrate people. Not this platform. We respect each and everyone. Because you cannot speak English, you said, well, I'm not qualified to be here. I cannot speak English myself. If you can speak Mandinka, bring it on. If you can speak Jola, bring it on. If you can speak English, bring it on. If you can speak Fula, bring it on. So just come on. That's all I've asked for. That's all my team asked for. We have to educate ourselves. And the government always, they will listen. We say Barrow is not doing a good job. Jammeh did this, Jammeh did all these bad things. He gone. Barrow is here, he's doing all these bad things. What can we change? What can we change? And we're expecting another government to come. What are they going to bring on the table different? We say Baba Jawara was there, he did all that bad things. Let's come on forward now and tell them what we want them to do and tell them this is what it is. This is how we can maneuver. Please. I thank y'all. Not only politics, education. Yes. Okay. I'm here with my Jaliba. Did y'all send my message to Jaliba again? I'm still waiting for the job position to sing. I told y'all, go on. Go tell Jaliba. Oh, my goodness. Share this information, please. Share. I appreciate everybody, my team, my manager, Ahmad So. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate the brother Melville.
Today is the
Melville did a good job.
Smile. Why wait?
Yes. We don't do personal. Don't think that if you come here, we will ask you about your personal stuff. We don't do that. That's not our interest. We are not interested in that. If you have something to bring, it will benefit Gambians. Bring it. Personal issues, honey, I have my own. Too many. So I don't need somebody else's. Okay? Mbal tentula mbali jaila mbe min fo kandoro wala. Min ko baba jawara nata man ku kendo ken bankunka. Ngo jamme nata man ku kendo. President Barrow fana mbijen kamantara ku kendo. Nko alna nang jang. Nite kuo kulong agriculture. Infrastructure. Ite kuo kulong anything to. Min se banko nafa se banko dingol nafa. Asambana nye. Na yen karandi. Funding ke sita jambi. If you were late, nita late kana. Make sure you start. Melville sat here 2 hours, almost 3 hours. I mimbe kacha. Allah share. Prasa futamola. Lillahi alay. Nkomin mantara do ku kendo la nga fem fo e lafte mineke. Ala nga fo. Mbe jikirim political party dole binala 2021. Wali e mun guarantee le tandin nako ibe kule kala. It's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same. So mbal tentula mbali jayila. Mbinalu bulala. Akacha dia. Alnanang nakacha. Gambia no ya londo soto. Ila personal problem tolu we are not interested in that. Tolu mimbe itebe min sambalan toliena itamu doctor letu. Itamu civil human rights activist letu. Itamu mingo min tidorong londo mimbe bulu. Asambanye nam political damante. Sombal tentula mbali jayila. Alama suto dia. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Okay, thank you. Allah baraka. Yes. Allah baraka. Lamin sayemin. Yes. Jame. Allah baraka. Love y'all. Sunday we will be back. I'm not going anywhere. Alondo te sister bulu bar londi tiyon. Mbite normal mbela bundal konkon na. Mber ali makoy ali e tol ken na inbox solta ni la nombal. Min sen nafa ali makoy. Sometime ka mo soto mbuka soto no barato li mol mini long. Isen nafa ni mbankun kan. Isa Gambia change. We have to change Gambia together. Nka sin kan bulo la nyo kan nyame ka fo Gambi mansa alanga mfonyo wala ndol alanga fo Gambia no let's make something mansa kunda yella moy say you were late today, you can start over. Thank you Allah baraka great. Thank you, brother Melvin.